Everyone, it's TrekkieMoto here, and you join me on a beautiful crisp day in Pennsylvania. Today I'm going to be talking more about the Trekkie side of my life than the moto side. I have been a Star Trek fan since I was a little boy. I grew up watching reruns of the original series in the 70s. I thought Star Trek was incredible, and I still do. I remember when Star Trek The Next Generation came out, I was so excited to see something new. And even though I was still pretty young in the mid-80s, I could see that that first season of it was sort of a bit naff, to be honest. But it steadily improved. By the third season it was really into its stride, and then along came Deep Space Nine and one of my favourites, for Star Trek Voyager. And then eventually Star Trek Enterprise. Lots of good movies were made in the same period, from the motion picture right the way up till, well, honestly, to be up till Star Trek First Contact. Things kind of weren't so good after that, in my opinion. But I was getting a good Star Trek fix. But then, inexplicably, Star Trek went away for a little while. I guess you could sort of divide Star Trek into three eras, right? The first era was really conducted under the auspices of its creator, Gene Roddenberry. Then in the 80s and 90s, it was really a Rick Berman project. Gene Roddenberry had become ill, and then eventually he died, and Rick Berman sort of ran the whole thing. Kind of ran it into the ground a little bit. Then in 2009 we had that new movie with J.J. Abrams directing it, and you know, it was kind of a reboot, and it had its place. I enjoyed it. It felt a little bit different, but you know, still Star Trek, and I love all Star Trek. The third era, though, of Star Trek has really been conducted under the auspices of Alex Kurtzman. And for some reason, and I don't have a clue why this is, his vision for Star Trek doesn't really gel with a lot of the hardcore fans. I don't understand that at all. I have found Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Picard, and Star Trek Lower Decks to be absolutely fantastic. The original series of Star Trek broke a lot of ground. It told some really important stories, you know, and addressed some very important societal issues through the concept of allegory, and it did so very well. It broke a lot of ground. It had a black woman on the bridge of the Enterprise, and an officer no less. It had a Russian serving, and obviously a Japanese American as well. And you know, a lot of people weren't particularly fond of that, and it's fair to say that the original series didn't really do that well in the ratings. It wasn't really well treated, but of course in syndication it was extremely successful. The Next Generation and the shows that followed that under the Rick Berman era kind of built on that, really. Humanity had evolved to the point where sort of material things were less important, and there was a goal to better oneself through reading and science and arts and poetry and all those things that, you know, maybe don't seem so important to people right now. Star Trek became more and more inclusive. Some of the stories became, I don't know, they dealt with hot button topics. Hello, what's going on here? acting was so good and the scripts were so good that these things seemed perfectly normal, and they were excellent. Let me just negotiate this little bit of road work here. So the Alex Kurtzman era pushes that much further. Now you have a situation where there are what one would call controversial aspects of modern society being addressed head on. Star Trek has introduced gay characters, transgender characters, interspecies relations, the kinds of things that freak sort of conservatives out. But if I'm honest, I think Star Trek is all the better for it, because, you know, humanity is evolving to the point where inclusivity is going to grow and grow. There aren't really hard defined boundaries that you can put people one side or the other against. Concepts like race and gender are really parts of a spectrum, and you know, the new Star Treks sort of reflect that. They also reflect a harder edge. Like Picard deals with some, you know, pretty dark stuff, and Discovery, it deals with, you know, huge universe consequential issues. Lower Decks is a different animal altogether. Lower Decks is, in my view, a love letter to the fans. It's an animated series, but it's obviously aimed at Star Trek fans who've been around for a while, and it has lots of callbacks to the original series, The Next Generation, Voyager, Deep Space Nine. Thoroughly enjoyable. Every single episode seems to be better than the last, and they make me laugh so much. I mean, I just find them so funny. They're a work of genius. And I have extremely high hopes for an upcoming series called Strange New Worlds, which stars the excellent Anson Mount as Christopher Pike, one of the first captains of the Enterprise, after Robert April, technically. It sounds like they're going to return to a more episodic format rather than sort of season-long arcs. So it's a little bit more like the original series in that respect, and I think that this will make a lot of the sort of hardcore space opera type fans much happier. But I do hope that Star Trek continues to push boundaries. It continues to be inclusive. And I really don't understand why people fuss about it so much. People, you know, they don't like the idea of including everybody. You know, if you say anything that's anti-religion, everyone goes, "Ooh!" It's like, you know, what about Jesus? If you say anything that's inclusive of, you know, gay people or transgender people, it's like that's not normal or something like that. It is normal. It is normal, and it's exactly what you'd expect in the future, especially with, you know, the advent of interspecies relationships. You'd expect things to get more and more diverse, more of a spectrum than it is now. I love this bit of road, excuse me. Oh, love that. Drop a gear for this corner. love this bike. Anyway, so I just wanted to have my say about what people are calling new Trek, but really it relates to the Alex Kurtzman-Era of the Star Trek series. I think they're excellent. They make me happy every time I watch them. I get emotional, just like I did when Spock died, or when the Enterprise exploded in Search for Spock. I love these things. I want to feel that way. I want things to be uplifting or heartbreaking. I want people to struggle with their relationships, because that's reality. That's the world that we live in. Anyway, that's been my little Star Trekky thing today. If you've enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. If you want to see more like this, please hit subscribe. I've been TrekkieMoto, very much the Trekkie part of Moto today. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.